In China, what do you call the students who sit in the back of the class who are not doing as well?
They are called backbenchers. And when I first heard that, I couldn't figure out what in the world they could be talking about. But a teacher, one of the Chinese teachers would say, unfortunately, their attitude, that particular teacher's attitude was he would teach to the students in the front, and the backbenchers, he didn't worry about them because they wouldn't learn anyway. So, and you can understand a student who doesn't like language, is not doing well at it, they sort of want to hide, so they sit in the back of the room. And they're called backbenchers. So they would teach to the students in front. Not all teachers were that way, but several I had, because there, a lot of the teachers, I think even their salaries were determined by how many students passed the national exams. And there is a special exam when they go from middle school, which would be middle, and that took me a while too. When they kept talking about middle school, I thought 7th and 8th graders. Their middle school is like what we call high school. At least that's how it was then. So if you lived in a certain, just like here really, if you lived in a certain area of the city, you would go to a particular high school. But you could take an exam if the one in your area of the city wasn't a top-notch one, and you had a son or daughter that was really good student and you wanted them in the better high school, you could have them take an exam and see if they would be accepted there. And the exams at the end of the year were a huge thing. The national exams. Parents would literally stand, and there were gates at all the high schools, at least at that time. The parents would stand at the gates with lunch and drinks and things. When kids had a break, they came down, found their parents, and got their food and beverage during the day. But on the national exam day, the parents, it's a literal, mob at the gate of the school. What was the other part? The changes were great by the last time I went. First of all, they had more access to computers at home. When I first went, the only place they had access to computers was at like at a store. Not really a store, but there'd be places where you could go in and rent time on the computer. Over that 12 years, computers at home had become fairly common. And again, like any society, when you had more money, they would hire tutors for their kids. Many students would go to school all day and still have a tutor that night for all of their subjects. So the pressure on a Chinese student is extremely high. It was, though, a very rewarding experience, getting to know the teachers. Some I still actually am in contact with, and that's been over 20 years.